Okay, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome again today to Financial Hikers Facebook, YouTube show. Our topic today is claim handling tips. And as you can see, today we have three people with us. We would like to welcome you to our YouTube channel. This is the first time you're officially doing a live show on our YouTube channel. And we thank you so much for those who join, those who watch. We request you to subscribe, share if you can. So we'll be handling most of our shows here on the YouTube. So welcome again. My name is Sharon Adundo, and I'm one of the admins of Financial Hackers. And we majorly share useful information, what has worked for us. We share whatever we know, like, basically life experience. And this is just one of the ways of giving back to the community. And I would like the rest to introduce themselves before we continue with this conversation. Thank you all for joining and tuning in. Renice?
Hi, I'm Renise.
Good morning, good afternoon, evening, wherever you are. My name is Minji. I'm Jackie. I'm one of the Financial Hikers admin. Here I am, and we are here to share our experience with what's going to happen or what has happened. Thank you and welcome.
Okay, thank you everybody for introducing yourselves. So today is Sunday, the weather is beautiful today, and we just want to say, like, if you saw the news in Texas, we were so much impacted. We are based in Texas, and the past week we had a very bad weather. People lost power, heat, there no food even right now in some of the stores. And we just want to come and share. And as you see, we have one of our young ones, Renise, here. We would like also to include her in the experience so that at least she share briefly some her experience in general, because I know we had to learn a thing or two. So I'd like to give this moment to Renise just to tell us, what was your experience? What can you share with others? How did you feel at first? And go ahead.
Okay, so I didn't even know we had no electricity till my mom woke me up asking me if I was cold. And at first I was confused, why would you do that? You understand? I was sleeping nicely, but then she told me we had no electricity. So at first I was okay with it, right? Until I went downstairs and realized it was freezing, correct? And outside was covered in snow, like covered, right? So we had no heat, right? We had no electricity. So we had this like keratin thing, right? And it was able to heat us up. But eventually we turned on the fireplace and that was better. But the first day I was so annoyed, so aggravated. And then my brother, he was perfectly fine. He went outside, he played with his friends, went to their house, they played board games. And when I realized they were playing board games, I eventually went over and I was like, oh, I didn't know y'all were playing board games. So that gave me something to do. But in the middle of the game, we realized there was electricity. So we plugged everything in, our phones, tablets, laptops, everything, right? So that's and we also, downloaded movies that kept us entertained. Like if you're on Netflix, download it once your connection's out, you can watch your movies offline. But it was overall, I didn't enjoy it the first time. But eventually it got better. We bought food outside almost every day. And, it got better, but I know for a lot of people it was a lot worse because they didn't have, like, if you ran on firewood, some people are running out of firewood. My neighbor, he went to I don't know, let me not say our location, but his friend had extra firewood, so that's how they're able to survive. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that experience. And again, as far as your perspective, what are some of the things that you help with that help, enable the situation to be manageable, and just to give a hint to some of the kids on what you had to do in order to make things better on your end?
So my mom, she made me, so our pipes did freeze, because what happens if your pipes freeze, it'll expand, then your pipe will bust, basically, and it'll flood your house. So we ran our taps, right? Every hour we ran them for 10 to 15 minutes. 10 to 5 minutes, excuse me, right? And then we did the same thing for our showers. Every hour we flushed the toilets to make sure that the line didn't freeze. Along with that, what else did we do? We shout. Oh my goodness! Do y'all know what I did? I never expected to shuffle snow off the driveway or sidewalk, right? So my mom's like, we need to shuffle snow, right? Then the first day I was like, do we really need to do that? Like, cause in my head I'm like, it's going to melt eventually, so what's the point, right? Then the next day, she's like, we need to shuffle snow, right? And we nobody. I guarantee you, almost every household doesn't have a what's it called, a shovel to shovel snow, like people like people who get snow, right? So you know what my mom's using? She's using the thing to plow the dirt to shovel the snow. Oh my goodness, right? And then I think so. Eventually, I went over to my neighbor, asked if he had a snow shovel, and he had one. So we borrowed it. We shuffled the sidewalk, shuffled the driveway, shuffled the. Oh my goodness! But never in my life did I imagine shuffling snow in Texas. Like I could understand if I was somewhere else, but in Texas, it was interesting.
Thank you so much, Renise, for sharing your experience. And then, those are some of the things that we, when you are not in that kind of weather, you have no idea whether they happen or not. But then it was an experience. I know so many families are still suffering at the moment. They don't have lights, they don't have heat or water, but we are just here to share and then see how we can make the situation manageable. So we also have Minji coming from Oregon side. She would like to share with us some of the tips. I'll give you this moment, Minji, to just talk to us.
Hello, world. Thank you. The weather was not good. That kind of weather here in Oregon, we are kind of used to it. We get cold, we live around trees, forest, valley, so it gets really cold. We are used to this kind of weather. So Texans, we are sorry. Welcome to the bad weather. But I hope it's not going to happen again. Right, Renise? Anyways, here, when the weather comes, just like they say around, they warn you. So when they warn us, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen. This year, it was really bad because where I live, it was not only that the snow happened, but ours was ice. There was no snow. It was just ice. The roads were icy, like slickery ice. So what happened is when the weather started, like when there's enough moisture in the air, it starts to freeze when it turns to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 0 Celsius. It's very cold. So when you walk outside, if you're out there for, let's say, like 1 minute, your hands, your toes start to freeze if you are not dressed well. So here in Oregon, we have warm clothing. We are aware of the weather. So when that started, we are aware of what to expect. So when that time comes, we start to, just like Renee say, you start to run water, sink, kitchen sink, bathroom sink, tubs. Thank you, Renee, for the tips. So we usually do that. So it depends with the season and what weather comes. Our water bill or electricity bill sometimes goes really high. So here at my house, I'm very, very fortunate. I have wood stove. So I was not cold, but most of my neighbors who do not have wood stove were freezing. So I told them, like, if they're really cold, they're welcome to come spend the night at my house. But you know how, Americans are, they like their privacy. So none of them came. So I just want to show you what kept me warm in this house. So I have wood stove here in the background. Can you guys see it? Yeah, so this is wood stove, and it can handle a very, very high heat. And there is the firewood. So every year I buy firewood to warm the house. So this is mostly my source of heat in this house. the heat can really be hot. And on top of the wood stove right there, I can actually cook. So I've never cooked on it because we usually don't lose electricity even during winter. This year we did. So what happened is on top of the wood stove, I cooked soup, I warmed bathing water at the same time. So once I'm from the bathtub with hot water, I come and have some soup. So this has really been very helpful. I never knew that there will come a time when I have to cook over this wood stove. So I'm very grateful. And also, I just wanted to let you know that you might be interested in installing wood stove. However, in the United States, depends with your county or your city, you have to have a permission from the city. In fact, like since 2012, you cannot install this in houses. So they really say no longer. So this is grandfathered in. So I'm very fortunate that way. So in other words, if I, to move out of this house and I go to another place where there is no wood stove, I cannot install it. Anyway, so for people that were really unfortunate, did not have wood stove and were freezing like Renice, I'm so sorry. But I'm hoping that this weather is not going to come back again. We hope.
Okay, can I say something real quick? So luckily us, we ran on what's it called, gas. So and our gas stayed on. But at first during the kitchen, my best friend called me like, my gas stove won't turn on. I'm like, doesn't that rely on electricity? But eventually we realized we can just do it and light a match right next to it. So that's how we were able to cook. Some people relied on firewood, and I know other people were being creative. Like some people who relied on firewood, I saw things on TikTok where people were putting in cardboards. If you put rocks in your fire, it'll last longer or keep the heat at least, high for a decent amount of time. So there are all different stuff. But I know for some people who didn't have fireplace, they stayed in their car. And I don't know. See, because the first time it happened, I'm like, Mom, let's just go in the car. Let's just go in the car. Like, why are we suffering inside? The car has heat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then she was like, no, we'll stay in the house. I don't even think the car has enough gas to stay in there. So, and she was like, I'm not about to drive to the gas station because, the roads were covered in snow. So eventually stayed in, and then I realized like the day we got electricity back, I decided to hop on Instagram, and I realized that some people were dying from carbon monoxide in the car. And the way I was pushing to stay in the car, I'm so glad we didn't have enough gas to go. But yeah, that's just like there's so many things that were just killing people that you wouldn't think of. Like people were using grills. Mom was talking about we should have prepared. She was like, this is the only time I haven't prepared for something like this. Like we could have grilled, go in the garage, grill something, etc., etc. And I was just like, but then I saw something about carbon monoxide poisoning. Like some people were heating up from the grill. A family, I think it was a family of 6. I'm not sure if they stayed where we stayed, but they got carbon monoxide poisoning from the charcoal. So it just all depended on, there wasn't much you could do if you didn't have a fireplace. But some people made it in their car. I don't know what causes carbon monoxide from a car, because imagine going on an 8-hour, 14-hour trip, like that doesn't happen. So I don't really know how that happens. I just know the car was idle.
Thank you so much. It's good to hear different perspective, different experiences, and here we are. We would like to jump in now that the next step. If you have damages at your home, what are you going to do? What are the insurance tips you need to consider? So the first very major step that you need to do is to assess the damages. What's the extent of the damage at the property? Did the pipes burst? And if it did, have you mitigated the process? Did you turn off the water, or have you called the plumber to help? I know this is the time the plumber are overwhelmed, so if you can find or call the city to help you shut off the water from the main source, if you don't know how to do that, or the neighbors, they're so helpful, this is the time you need to look into that and see how that can be handled, because it's our responsibility. Insurance normally say that whenever there is a damage, it's your responsibility to mitigate the damage. Don't wait for you to report first, or if there is a roof leak or water leak, house continue flooding, you wait till the insurance handles it. One thing you need to do is take photos. Take a lot of photos, as much as you can. Keep them. Look for the next step to mitigate the process. If the water is flooded in the house, find people who can help you dry it out, take it, clean. If property is damaged, your personal property, take photos, document each and every item that is damaged, because that's the only way the insurance will be able to see and assess whether you are going to be covered or not. So as you do that, check on your insurance policy. That's the main important thing. As you check on your insurance policy, check on how much deductibles you have. So if you look at the damage you have at your home and you see that you estimate it to be more than your deductible, then you can go ahead and report those damages, because at that point, insurance will be able to review and see if you're covered. Again, that is moving me to the next point. If you don't know how to read your policy, contact your insurance agent, request them to help you check if whatever damages you have is covered or they're not covered as per your policy. Because we find here, we in Texas mostly, you find we are not so much affected. We don't normally get this kind of weather, and in most cases, sometimes you find these are some of the things that might not be included in the policy whenever you're shopping around. So check with your insurance, check with your agent to help interpret your policy to see if you are covered or not covered at that point. So after that, the next thing, in case you evaluate and see that your coverage is going to be more, your damages might be more than your deductible, you can go ahead and report. If you're lucky to get someone to help you get an estimate before reporting, then you'll be able to compare and see that this claim is, let's say your deductible is 1,000 and the claim might be about 2,000, 3,000. Then at that point, you'll be able to make a decision that, hey, I'm going to go ahead and report it to the insurance to see, and it's already covered, you already reviewed your policy, then start the claim handling process. So it's a chain of duties that we have to do, and it's tiring at the moment. It's a lot, it's insane, but you have to be patient with yourself. Min, do you have any questions?
Well, I really don't have any question at this time. However, you talking about handling claim, I recall a few weeks, a month ago, I think we talked about claims. And so maybe if you guys want to know more about claims, you could go back through Financial ICAs and learn more about house insurance. And I think that sometimes, just like Financial ICAs members and other people discussed earlier about having house insurance, you never know what's going to happen, because house insurance is more like for emergency. And this is a very good example that as a homeowner, please find home insurance. Do so. So thank you so much, Sharon, for bringing this up. And I'm so glad we had discussed about home insurance earlier. So this is really a continuation, as well as learning and giving guidance of what to do. Go ahead, Sharon.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember the other time we spoke about the home insurance, and it's so unfortunate this happened within a month or so. So we are just trying to guide here and hope at least you can get guided and see what to do, because it's our responsibility to take responsibility. So Another thing that I wanted to highlight is with the COVID-19, most insurance companies introduce the virtual inspection. So you'll find that by the time you do your report, you report your claim, you'll be required by most insurances to download an app to do virtual inspection at your place. So do not, that's a new thing. Do not feel like kind of a way when you're requested to download an app in order for the insurance adjuster to start taking photos or look at the damages through your phone to document whatever is happening at your place. So know that most first step that is going to happen in most cases right now is the virtual inspection. After virtual inspection, depending on the damages, if it's a lot of damages, insurance adjuster, field adjuster can be sent out to come and do the inspection. In, you know, adjuster will definitely evaluate and see what's the way forward depending on the damages you report. So ensure that you give detailed information, ensure that you also help take good photos, and in some cases you'll also be required to help with measurements of the damages of the room. So it's going to be a step-by-step process in order to be able to help handle the situation, because COVID changed a lot of things at the moment. So let's say after you report the damages, adjuster is out. Next thing, they write an estimate. So after they write an estimate, you'll find sometimes everything is covered, or sometimes not everything is covered. At that point, what you'll be required to do is you look at the estimate you're given. It's going to be itemized estimate from the insurance company. You get a contractor to see if they can be able to help you take care of your damages using the amount that the insurance is paying you in case your damages is covered. After that, in case anything has been missed on your estimate, there is something called supplemental review. You'll request for a supplement review whereby additional damages that were not covered at the initial payment to be reviewed. Make sure you support it with photos. Make sure that you itemize those additional requests that you're going to turn in so that they can be reviewed and then handled from there. There are instances whereby you find someone maybe just go ahead and do the repair and do without even documenting anything. At that point, you'll find you might experience a challenge because you went ahead and repaired and even completed without even showing what was damaged. So by the time you're questioned to show where the damage occur, you won't have enough information to give in. So at that point, you'll start going back and forth with the insurance because they will not have any proof to pay you. So make sure insurance only covered for accidental damages. So make sure you document, take a photos of the damage and submit it in. Next thing that I wanted to talk about is at the time of payment, there is one thing people normally confuse: the deductibles. So the deductible is the homeowner's responsibility. Even if you have a car or a house, you find this is an amount that you're responsible to pay as an insured before the other each payment portion is issued to you. So for an example here, you find if a claim is going to cost about $2,000 to be fixed and your deductible is 1,000, you'll be paid less 1,000. So your total payment will be just 1,000, which will be less your deductible. Let's turn around the other way. Suppose your deductible is 1,000 and your repair is going to be maybe about $500 or $800. You are not going to be paid anything, but that loss is going to be below deductible because the amount you're responsible to pay is 1,000 before insurance extends any coverage, but the damages at your place is just about $500 or $700. So learn to know how to interpret the deductibles and know how to what you're responsible as an insured. At the same time, just learn to know how to interpret your policy. So there are instances, suppose The basic deductible is normally like 1,000, but you find you might be having a policy right now in Texas. Our deductibles are normally high. It can be around 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, depending on whatever event that is happening. Wind and hail deductible are normally different from the hurricane deductibles. So make sure you learn to differentiate between the two. So like I said, we're in Texas. Suppose today your deductible is about 4,000 or 5,000. Now talking on the higher side, and the plumber gives you an estimate of 3,000 or 3,500. If you have a 5,000 deductible, at that moment still, the insurance company is not going to pay you anything because your loss is below deductible. Min, did you have anything at that point?
Well, I have a question for you, because I mean, based on home insurance policy, they give you policy, and policy covers whatever you agreed upon. For example, like you have a policy that, just like you say, deductible is 3,500, for example. So if there's a flood, would it be like, like car insurance where you have deductible 500 no matter what happens, or 1,000? Is it like like a specific amount of money, or it has to change according to the, what happened? For example, if it's for a flood, if it's for fire, something like that. Does it change?
I would like to say yes, and depending on whatever incident that is happening, like you find example that I gave, wind and hail deductible are normally different from hurricane deductibles. So hurricane deductible are normally higher. You'll find that wind and hail deductible might be, let's say, 1,000, but hurricane deductible is 5,000. At the same time, you might find like wind and hail deductible is maybe 5,000, but hurricane is 10,000. So you need to know whatever event that has happened. You mentioned also flooding. Most insurances do not cover floods. So you find, unless you have, I know there are some insurances offer an exemption whereby you can add that as an additional coverages. But in most cases, if you have a flood at your place, they're not covered by insurance. You'll get a denial letter from your insurance, then you take it to FEMA for consideration. So if you have flood, maybe you going to call now, hey, my house is flooded. They'll need to determine where the source of water is, how it happened, what is damaged, depending on the evaluation that is going to be done. I know in this case, it was the freeze. So your damages will be documented as per the event that occurred. And sometimes we use terms that are not related to the actual what do you call it, event that actually occurred. Like, let's say right now, maybe there was a pipe burst, and then I call insurance and say, hey, I have flood in my house. It was actually not flood. It was a pipe burst that led to the flooding of the floor or damage of the roof. So they'll try to put your claim according to the event and how it occurred. So flooding, example, maybe there is a hurricane and then the water coming, seep through the door, water from outside into your home. In most cases, those are what they term as flooding, and they categorize them as so. Is that clear?
Well, Sharon, thank you so much for the information. That is pretty clear. Well, I have homeowner insurance, but haven't really gone into detail to find out everything. But the information you provided me is really, beneficial for me. Now I know, like, what to do, when to do it, and things like that. And I hope that the world now have learned something or two. So thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Renis, you have something to say?
Yes, I've been wanting to say this for like a while.
Okay.
Oh, for your pipe burst, I didn't know about this because I'm not a homeowner. But on TikTok, right? TikTok is my academy. That's where I learn, right? So in case if I was to be a homeowner, right, and I realized my water stopped running, right? and it was 3 degrees outside, I plan on my pipe bursting, right? So what you can do, there's in most houses there's a switch. You can turn off your water yourself, right? And I didn't know that. I don't know if my mom did that, but she actually knew that. But I don't know if, I don't know if that's a common thing, right? So most of the time you can find this thing, it's a white thing and it's standing up, right? Sometimes it'll be on the side of your house or in your basement. But if it's not on the side of your house or in the basement, half the time it's in the ground, right? And you know those things, like sometimes I'm always like, when I'm walking by, I realize every house in my neighborhood has like this little box in the ground. I'm like, what is this, right? And in some houses there's two of them, some houses there's one of them, right? And I think one of them's for electricity, and one of them's for water, what I noticed. And if you open the cover and you take some pliers, it'll shut off and you turn it. I don't know which direction, but whatever direction it turns in, it'll shut off the water. So what you can do after, if you have some taps that are running still, what you're gonna do after you shut off your water, you're gonna drain all the water, right? So when your pipes do bust, you won't have any water coming to your house, and that will put water in it. Because by this time, by the pipe bust, you'll have no water in your house. You'll have no water entering or leaving your house. So you'll flush your toilets, drain all the water out. So you won't have any damages to the house by the time it's getting ready to bust. But if it does bust, you already have damages. It just won't be as much as it would if it continues to flood. And that could have saved a lot of people's time and money if they knew that, but kind of too late. Just for next time in case.
And the way it was time consuming, not sleeping, a lot at night, trying to figure out things. So thank you again for the tip, Denise, from your TikTok university. Okay, so up to the point of claim handling, claim payment, supplement. I've talked about reporting claim, I've talked about deductible, I've talked about supplement, I've talked about documenting your damages. Next thing I'm going to talk about is at the time of payment, just a tip. If you have a mortgage or still you're paying for mortgage, insurance normally have a limit. So suppose maybe your claim is, example, there's some insurances whereby you find they will not include the mortgage company on the check if the claim is about 6,500 and below or 7,500 and below. So you have to check that out. In case a mortgage company is listed on your check, make sure you endorse, sign it, send it to the mortgage insurance, then they have to sign, then send it back to you. The money will be deposited, check will be deposited into your account, and then from there, that's when you'll get the money. So try to ensure that you act within time. Don't complain to the insurance like, hey, why are you adding this mortgage company on my insurance? And that it will take time for the check to clear. That's just the process, because there are additional interest into that property. So the less time you take to handle the process, the less time you also take to handle the damages, and you prevent additional damages. So ensure you communicate to the mortgage company in case they're added on the check, to make sure that your process is handled on time. Now, other things that I wanted to touch, if you went to the hotel and because there was no water or no heat, have your documentation in place, report to the insurance. If the claim with the damages are going to be covered, those are some of the additional payment the insurance will be able to refund you, because you could not live at the home due to no water or electricity. Now, suppose you bought a generator to help you prevent food damages and help provide heat to the home. In most cases, you're going to be paid for the fuel that you use to run the generator. You're not going to be paid for the generator. They look at it like the generator was used to help mitigate the damages. So you are not going to be refunded the generator money, but fuel money. Suppose the food was spoiled, the food will be paid for. So make sure that you document, take photos. Don't throw those food out before taking photos of the spoiled food. Then you'll have to be documenting them one by one, like bread, meat, let's say chicken, vegetables. Each and every item will be itemized so that they can be, reviewed for handling purposes. Don't throw anything without taking photos. That's very important. Personal property. If you have personal property damage, you saw some of the houses, everything flooded, wet chairs, wet clothes, the ceiling dropped on the beds. Document that, take photos, take, whatever type of furniture you have. Make sure you document all that stuff and then itemize them with the price, the year you bought it, so that you help lessen the time of handling. Because um, if you already threw them off, too bad, you might experience a challenge. If they're still not collected, go take a photo of the pile where you just heap them to at least have something to show. Because in case the trash people collect it and you don't have any evidence of a furniture that was broken or smashed by the ceiling, then no one is going to, have something to support the claim and make any payments to you. Another thing that normally bring issues is the electronic, fridge, computers. If you have those and they're not working, or the AC units, you'll be required to provide additional information like the diagnostic report to show the cause of loss. So try to, do these things in advance. If you know they're damaged, look for somebody to help you check on the cause of loss and write it down so that by the time you're submitting it to the insurance, at least you're lessening the handling time. Other than that, another important thing, it's a frustrating time, and by the time maybe you'll be calling to report your damages, try to be, try not to argue too much, try not to be so much, it's a moment, yes, so many people hurting, so many things have happened. Try the best you can to be consistent with your words, to make sure that you're not changing from one word to the other, and don't argue too much, to give them an easy time to be able to help you. Adjusters are trying to help with the problem that has occurred. They're not, trying to make things hard for you. So just have that in mind. And whenever you ask questions or whenever you ask for additional information, please submit them without arguing or say that you have issue and they're wasting your time and all those stuff. It is frustrating, but again, you just need to try to listen to what is needed in order to help the situation that has already occurred. Anybody else with anything to add?
Well, just like Sharon said, to be persistent and have pictures, it's very important to have those pictures so they know what took place. I've gone through this, so I know exactly what Sharon is talking about. I'm still working with my homeowner insurance based on a claim I submitted a year ago. And also, just to add on top of Sharon's claim, about claim, I want to let you guys know that claim handling, it's a process. It takes time and it can be very stressful, especially when you have lost a lot of property. You have like a lot of property damages. And what I want to add on top of Sharon's talk is that most claims take only 2 years. So in case it happened last year, then by next year at that time you must submit everything and they close the claim. Once the claim is closed, you cannot reopen it because it's finalized. So just to let you guys know. Sharon?
Jackie, you just reminded me, you are handling a major claim right now. Would you just tell people what happened, what you've gone through so far, how you also had to stay in the hotel, documenting all the stuff, being asked for information all the time? Would you just give someone hope and just share your story?
So this is a long story. I'm usually very private, but well, it's okay. I can share some stories with you. So last year, about this time, I was at work and my daughter was at home. And when my daughter was at home, I received a phone call, says, "Mom," and she was very sentimental. She was crying. She said, "Mom, the car hit our house." I'm like, how can a car hit the house? So She just said, Mom, the car hit the house and the police is here and they need you to come home. And I'm like, okay. So working in healthcare, you just can't run like that. You have to wrap up things because I work with patients. So I wrapped things up. And so when I came home, when she said the car hit the house, I thought like it was just a dent on the wall. So my house is more like a corner lot. So there is an intersection. And where I live, there's a law says that when you live in the city, you cannot fence your front yard more than 4 feet high. So I just have a huge tree up there and there's no fence here where we live within the city. So when I came home, there was fire truck, there was police, neighbors are around my house. And then I passed that intersection and I looked at my house and guess what I saw? I went like, Ma, 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 Ma. I was shocked because my daughter did not tell me all the stories. So what happened is the car hit my house and one of my master bedroom downstairs, the car was inside the house, sitting on the floor. It was a nightmare. I was shocked. I didn't know that a car at a neighborhood where people drive at 25 miles per hour, a car can hit exterior wall and end up inside the house. So when this happened, my daughter was very shocked. My daughter thought there was like a burglar entering the house because there was shutters of the window. So she ran through the window in her bedroom, which on the other side of the house, outside. And when she came outside, she found a car almost inside the other bedroom. Anyway, to put it short, so when I came home, it took about 3 hours for the fire truck to pull this car outside the house. Anyway, this car was Mercedes. Mercedes Benz. So every time I see Mercedes Benz, I just have this nightmare like, oh my goodness, my house. So anyway, that aside. So that night, the car hit the house around 7 p.m. For the fire truck to pull the car out of the house. It was around, like 1 a.m. So I had to call my insurance and they said that they were going to rent for us hotel that night because it was cold. And when it's cold here, it's cold. And when the, part of the house, the wall is gone, the entire house is cold. So I had to call the insurance. They rented us hotel to go to for the night. And also to secure the house, I had to call a construction company to come and put plywood to secure the house before I leave. So everything happened about 3 a.m. We ended up being in a hotel. Well, to make it even worse, I lived in a hotel for about 3 months. Yeah. And the insurance covered the food and the insurance covered the hotel and everything. They covered my gas because the hotel I lived was far from my house. They covered everything. They did an amazing job. My insurance agent really helped me. And so within this process, I had to pile like what I lost because the bedroom was a mess. I'm still in the process of renovating the house. It's not completely done. However, we are able to come back into the house. I realized this is when I just had to sit down and start reading policy. I have like 150 pages for policies, for 150 pages that insurance provided me. So I've been reading it slowly by slowly, what they cover, what they do not cover. It's just amazing when you pay house insurance and you think that this is covered, but really it is not covered. So they had to really lift my house and readjust the foundation because when the car hit the house was tilted. So what happened is they told me, unfortunately, we do not cover hauling of the dirt under the foundation. So I have to pay almost like $3,000 from my pocket to get rid of the dirt they are digging from the ground. They don't cover that. It's amazing. So even though you pay house insurance every month, there's so much expenses that when it comes to fixing the house, you pay from your pocket. Just be aware of that. So don't be surprised when they say you have to pay maybe 10,000 or 15,000 from your pocket due to this and that. Just be aware of it. But what I'm very grateful is that I paid my house insurance, and they spent quite a lot of money in this house, and I could have not afford that if I did not have house insurance. So I'm grateful. And please, if you don't have house insurance, please and kindly think about it. You will not regret in case of emergencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Minji, for sharing your experience. Thank you so much. I know it's not water related, but it's claim handling related at this moment, because the process is the same. You find documenting, and I remember you also had to give a lot of information at different times, and you're still giving now. So it's a matter of following up and just providing documentation, additional information after every, if you have a small claim, you won't go through that. But if you have a major claim right now, a major damage, then just prepare mentally to go through even the process for a year or 2 years. She also mentioned like most claim handling are 2 years. Yes, in most states, claim handling are 2 years. So you need to check on how long that is. So by the time, the reason why we say the 2 year, this is the time you are able to be paid the recoverable depreciation. The recoverable depreciation, you find when you are being paid on a claim, you are not given, in most cases, a full amount of repair money needed to make the repair. You will be required to start the repair process, then the insurance will hold back some money in some cases. Then you'll have to show the process. Sometimes you'll be required, depending on how much the damages are, to show a commitment from a contractor who is saying that, yes, I'll be able to help fix these damages with this a certain amount of money. Then you sign a contract. Then the additional money will be released. Suppose it's a major claim. In most cases, it's about 30,000. You find some of the money is being held back by the insurance till you finalize your completion of the repair fixing, then turn in the final invoice, final photos to show that everything is completed before they release that recoverable depreciation. Um, just know that some money, those terms, recoverable depreciation, money being held back by the insurance, less your depreciation. So if you have any questions, please, you can type in the comments, you can inbox us. We are on Financial Hikers Facebook page, Facebook group. And so far, those are some of the tips. We don't want to take so much of your time. If you have any questions, let us know. I hope you will go through the process and manage everything, and we're just hoping everything will go back to normal. We are also going to approach the hailstorm season, so let's be careful. Check on our insurances, see if you need to have additional endorsement, discuss with your agent and see what you need at this particular time. Otherwise, I don't have anything else to say. Renice, thank you for being with us through this process. Do you have anything to add?
No.
We appreciate you being with us, and it's a learning process. Thank you for coming. Minji?
I just would like to thank Renice and Sharon for being here today, and that we are thankful we have electricity back. Some people do not have electricity. It's been like 5 days and they still don't have electricity. Some of them now live in hotels or live with friends. And so I just send my prayers to them that all will go well and life will be back to normal. Again, thank you very much for watching Financial Hikers. Until next time, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Please, we are building this YouTube channel. Subscribe if you're watching. We'll appreciate you to help us grow. Share, comment. If you have any questions, comment below. We'll be glad to help handle the questions asked. So other than that, till next time, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful Sunday. Bye-bye.
Bye.